Welcome to this tutorial again. I'm glad to have you on board. We are discussing about the CSS essentials, and we have been able to cover a number of things. So if you have missed my previous videos, you can go back to my YouTube channel and be able to check other videos that we have discussed. We have looked at the CSS fundamentals. We have looked at the CSS layout. We have also looked at different basic stylings that you can be able to apply on your HTML document. And in this particular one, we are going to discuss about typography and text styling. Typography is key, is so powerful, because this one is used to create the main content of your web page. So if you miss to know, or if you miss to put things in order, you'll realize that your audience will be running away from your website. So it is very important for us to be able to look at this concept, because it will be able to determine the general clarity, how the content is going to be understood, how is it going to be attractive, and many other things. So stay tuned up to the end of this video for you to get insight on how you're going to create the fonts for your website. Now, the first thing we are going to look at is the font properties. Now, the first font property that you need to know is what we call the font size. So font size basically is used to control the size of the text on your website, on your web page. So when you, for example, this is a PowerPoint. So in case I highlight this particular text like this, and then I go to this particular part at the top here, and then I change it to like something like 32, you realize that there is some increase in terms of the size of this particular text. So that is what we call the font size. Now in this particular case, when you talk about the font size, you are talking about two types. You have what we call the static size, and then you have the relative size. So when you talk about the static size, it means that there is that predefined way that a text is supposed to increase. So for example, when you talk about 1 pixels, 1 pixel basically you mean 1 over 96th inch. That is how 1 pixel is going to be measured. Now when you talk about 1 pt, 1 point, it is going to be 1 over 72 72nd inch. So you can see those are predefined. There is a predefined way to measure a pixel. There is a predefined way to measure the point. But when you talk about relative size, it is dependent on the root or the parent element. So it is not fixed. The size is not fixed. So it is just dependent on the root or the parent element. So if I have also created a video on the difference between EM and REM. So if you want to get more insight of that particular part, you can just go to that video and you can be able to get the insight of how you can be able to apply these two sizes. But basically, when you talk about EM, you mean 100% of the parent. When you talk about root EM, you mean the relative size to the root. Then the second part, we talk about the font weight. So when you talk about the font weight, basically it makes the font looks light or heavy. So when you talk about the font weight, for example, in this particular case, we are saying that H2, the font weight is supposed to be bold or normal. Or in case sometimes when you don't want to use the word bold or normal, you can decide to go for 100 for thinnest. So the thinnest means is the smallest in terms of the weight. Then when you go about 900, then that is the thickest. That is the maximum weight, okay, of your font. Now when you go to the font family, a font family basically is the appearance of the text. Now there are two types of font families. We have what we call the sans serif and the serif fonts. So in this particular case, we are setting that H1 is using the font family Helvetica sans serif. So this is the font type, this is the font family. So sans serif is the font family, then Helvetica is the font type that is being used. The second example here, they are saying font family is Times New Roman, and then they are saying serif. So what is the difference between sans serif and serif font? You realize that with serif font, the corners are at the right angle. The corners of each and every letter that has been written is at the right angle. But when you talk about the serif, it is somehow like it is curved. There is some corners on those fonts. So you can see here we are using the double quotation mark, opening double quotation mark and closing double quotation mark, but in this particular case we are not using double quotation mark and closing double quotation mark. Why? It's because when it is a single word, you don't need to put there the double quotation mark. But if that particular font type is made up of more than one word, there is need for you to put the double quotation marks. So you can see here we have already explained that particular part. Now the next part is what you call the font style. The font style basically specifies the style of the text, the style of the text. So when you talk about the style of the text, basically you mean things like normal, is it italics, is it oblique, and many other. So in this particular case we have the syntax here. So you need to have the font style, and then you give us the value. So the value, we have already said it cast across these particular three elements, values that I've just been able to mention here. Now here we have an example that tries to explain that. You realize that when you have font that is normal, font style that is normal, the text will just appear the normal way. And then we talk about italics, you realize that the text now will be able to slant forward. And then we talk about oblique, it is that it is a skewed version of a normal font. A skewed version, basically it means something that it was done deliberately. It was maybe aligned deliberately so that it can be able to go in a certain way. So that is what we mean by the skewed version. Yeah. So it is not saying that, we are not saying that that is the way the font is supposed to be, but now because of the oblique nature of it, it is supposed to go in a certain manner. So that one has already been explained, but we are going to get maybe an example at the end of this particular slide, so that you can be able to have the knowledge of how to apply these two. And then we have the text properties. Now when you talk about the text properties, you have things like color. So it specifies the color of your text. Now when you talk about color, there are three ways to specify color. So we can be able to give the name of the color. So you can talk of the blue, you can talk about the indigo, you can talk about the Indian red, you can talk about the red, you can talk about the yellow, you can talk about orange. So the name of the color. But sometimes you realize that remembering the color, it becomes difficult, or you want to maybe to pick the color from the Chrome or from the Chrome browser and then use it on your website. So you want specific color, but you don't know how to go about it. So it is important for you to understand the second type, which we call the hex code. So this is the hex code. It's made up of 6 digits, and in this particular digit is made up of the alphabets, and also is made up of numbers. So you can see at this particular case, this is a font color, or the text color that is being used. Another way to be able to specify that is what we call RGB. So in this particular RGB, you mean the positioning of where that particular text has been taken away from. So R stands for red, G stands for green, and then B stands for blue. So this particular combination, you can see the points where that particular text was being picked from. So the maximum size, or the maximum point, is 255. So you can see in this particular case, red is 255, then the rest is 00. So that is how it has been aligned. So that is the third way you can be able to indicate the color of the text. The next one is what we call text alignment. So text alignment basically means where exactly the text is going to be placed. Is it in the left of the HTML document? Is it on the right, the center, or the justify? So for those who have done maybe word processing, you have that clue of what I'm talking about in this particular case. Now text decoration, basically when you talk about decoration, you mean placing a baseline below a word or an overline. So when you want to add the text decoration, then you can be able to use that property called text decoration, and then you specify the underline and the type that you want. Or you want to use overline, you can go ahead and do that. For instance, you want to get rid of that. Maybe you're quoting an anchor and maybe a link, and then you want to get rid of that. You should be able to specify that text decoration is none, so that it can be able to remove that underline. Next, we talk about the letter spacing. So it increases or decreases the spacing between the letters in a word. So the letter spacing, maybe you can try to use 2 pixels. So it means that the distance from one letter to another is 2 pixels. Then you have word spacing. So the distance between 2 words. So you can also specify the word spacing. And finally, we talk about line height. Line height is the space between each and every line of text. So the difference in the line spacing, so the difference between the first line, the space between the first line and the second line, we call it line spacing. So those are some of the properties of typography and text that are being used in our CSS. Now let's jump to one of the example here. I've already created one of the example here, and therefore I just want us to try these questions so that we can be able to get to know how this particular web page is going to look like. Now in this particular case, we say that we have got the first part whereby we have the internal CSS. So we are going to use internal CSS in this case, and we are saying that this particular part we should not change, so because it is already predefined for us. So the next thing you are supposed to do, you are just supposed to work with what we have already written in the body section. So this is, in this particular case, I've created the following. These are the elements that I've been able to include in the body section. We have the H1, we have got the paragraph tag, we have got the paragraph tag again, we have got the paragraph tag again, we have the paragraph tag again, and then another paragraph tag. So this one should tell you something, that you need to be able to differentiate these paragraphs. And we looked at what we call the CSS selector. If you have not been able to watch my previous video, you can go ahead and watch a video that I created on the CSS selectors. So you'll be able to get the insight of types of selectors. So you'll be able to realize there are 5 types of selectors, and they are well explained in that particular video. So kindly go to that video and watch. But in this particular case, I want to differentiate the first paragraph tag and the second paragraph tag, like that. So I'm going to use what we call the ID selector. So for the H1, there is no other H1, but for these ones are different. So I want just to make sure that they are different absolutely. So let me just add the ID. The ID here is supposed to be color, and then the second one, the ID is supposed to be size, and then the next one, the ID is supposed to be weight. Maybe I can just use the word weight. And then the next one, the ID is supposed to be family. Let me just use the word family. So why am I doing this? Because I just want to make sure that these paragraph are quite different. Whatever I'm going to apply on one paragraph is not going to interfere with whatever I'm going to apply in the next paragraph. So I'm going to use those words there. So I've been able to differentiate all those paragraphs. Now I jump to the activities that I'm supposed to do. The first activity here is that change the color of the paragraph, this particular paragraph, the first paragraph, to coral color. So what they're interested here is the font color or the text color. So change it to this particular color. So that is a little bit easy. So you just go here, and then you refer to that particular ID. The ID that I'm using here is color. So the ID I'm using is color, and then you just write the word color and then full colon, and then you use the word they're saying coral. So the moment I start typing coral, the good thing with the VS Code is going just to autocomplete for me. So that is the color that they want. So the first exercise or the first activity is done. You got the second activity. They say change the font size of paragraph font size to two times the size of the root font size. So this one is testing you on the aspect of EM and REM. So if you have not checked my video on the root EM and the EM, kindly go in my YouTube channel and check that particular video. I've tried to explain these two aspects in this particular case. Now what you need to define what is a root element in this case, and we have said that there is only one root element in HTML, that is the HTML tag. So the HTML is the one, we call it a root element, because it's the one that creates the rest of the elements in your web page. Now they are saying that ensure that that particular font size is twice the root element. Now in this particular case, you have already specified the font size for the root element. The font size for the root element is okay, so let's set maybe the root element, let's say the root element is 30. Let's say for example HTML is the font size is 30 pixels, just for example, because we have not been given, so we can just give it our root element. So in this case we are saying that the font size is 30. Now when you come to that question whereby you are supposed to apply the REM, you go ahead and write there the ID for the second paragraph. In this case the ID is size, so we are going to use the ID size, and inside that ID we are going to say font size. Then we say the font size is supposed to be 2 REM. So by doing that is going to be 2 times 30, which is 60. Now we go to the next activity. We are saying that change the font weight of the next paragraph to be to 900. Remember I talked about the font weight, and I said the font weight you can decide to use normal or use bold, but if you want to use numbers is also good. Now that you can be able to use 100 for thinnest and 900 for thickest. Now this particular case we are going to use 900 for thickest. So in this particular case we are just going to refer to that ID. We say that hash, and then we say the font the weight is called the weight, and then in this particular case you just write there the font weight, and then the font weight you are going to put there 900. So that one has already been settled. We got the next one. So we say that change the font family for font family to the Google font caveat with regular 400 font weight. So there is also another video that I've created on how to import Google fonts into your web page. So if you want to know how you can go about that, or how you want to get more information of how the Google font works, you can go ahead and watch that video. Now to get that font, basically you go to your browser. For example, now you go to this Chrome browser, and then I've been able to search fonts.google.com/specimen/ that font, and then that question is very specific. The font they are looking for is this one, 400. So 400 is the font that they are looking for. The regular font is 400. So this is the font that I want to use in this particular case. Now after doing that, now the font has already been displayed here. So what you're supposed to do is just click on get font. So when I click on get font, it is going to open to me this particular page, and then in this particular page I just click to get the embedded code. Now when you go to get embedded code, you have already been given the procedure of how you can incorporate the Google font to your web page. So there are two ways, there are two things that you need to do. The first one is to add this particular code. You copy this code, or you can just be able to click here, copy, and then you place that code in the head section. So the head section is here. So after the style closing tag, you place that code there, you Control V, so that font can be able to fit in that particular location. Then after doing that, you go here. Remember, you have not been able to create the ID at the top here. So what you are supposed to do here, you are supposed to create the ID hash family, and then you are supposed now to give us the font. This is the font family, so just write there the font family, and immediately you type that, it is going to display to you a number of families. But you are not interested with this. You go back to the same where you pull that font, and then just copy the font family. You have already been given the font family, so what you are supposed to do is just copy this part like this. So you copy this, and then you go and then paste it here. So you just paste it here. Then you just paste it there. You can as well just put those single quotation for this one, and then it is going to be in that manner. So that's how you can be able to use Google Font and also be able to position it or to use it in your web page. The next one is the last one is the alignment. So they're asking us to change the paragraph alignment to the right align. So what you're going to do here is that you're going to use it to here. You're going to use it hash align, and then under that you're going to use text align. Text align is supposed to be right, so I've already been told that you're supposed to use text align to be right. Now after doing that, they're saying that the last one, change the root to font to size to 30 pixels. Already you had already done that, that's why we are using this. As I can also copy this code, copy or cut it so that it can be at the beginning here. So it is very important. Remember, we're talking about cascading style sheet, so there is some procedure or priorities that are supposed to be followed when you are styling your page. That's why I need to start with this root element at the top there. So I've already set that to 30, and therefore my code is ready to run. So when I save this and then I execute, you should be able to see all the changes that you've been able to make in your document. So you can see how your document is going to look like depending on what you have just been able to do. This is how the document is supposed to look like at the end of the day. Thank you so much for that. We move to the next one, whereby we are supposed now to go to the next exercise. In this exercise, basically you are just testing on how you can be able to apply different colors on your web page. So it's not a very tough exercise. It's basically testing your knowledge on how to apply different colors and how you're going to put it in your web page. Now in this case, we are going to deal with this little exercise whereby you are supposed to style maybe your H1 and H2 in this body section, and then the questions are here. So in this question section, you are saying that make the background of the web page to be Andy Q white. So in this particular case, you need to know which element are you going to style so that the background of this web page can be in this particular color. Then make the H1 to be white smoke. So we are going to look at it. Make the background of H1 to be dark eager green. So you are supposed to do that. Also make the H2 to be this, and make the background for H2 to be this. So we are going to incorporate that. So I just create some space here, and then we start with the first one. So the first question is asking us to make the background for the web page to be that color. So in this case, you just know that body is the one that carries all the content of the web page. So we need to change the background color of this to be Andy Q white. So already it has been displayed for us there, so that is okay. We move to the next one. The next one here is that we are supposed to make H1. We're supposed to make H1 to be white smoke. So H1 and then the color. Remember, this is the font color. It's supposed to be, the font color is just a minute. The font color in this case is supposed to be white smoke, like that. And then they're also saying that they make the background color of H1 to be darks eager green. So you just say background color is supposed to be dark eager green, dark green. Let's just say dark green. I think there's a problem in the way they wrote it, but it's supposed to be dark green, then dark green, and then finally we are supposed to use H2. H2 is supposed to be that font. Now for H2 we have been told that we are supposed to say H2 is supposed to be, they are saying that make the color for H2 to be, we have already been given the hex code, so I just copy this hex code that you have been given. So I just copy and then I paste it here. So that is the hex code that is there. Then the background for that also we have been given, and the background in this case is this. So you just copy this and then you paste it here. So you can see it as already. The good thing with the VS Code is that it is going to give you even the sample color that you have just chosen. You can see here, and even when you hover on this particular color, you also been given also the RGB, the way it is going to be coded in RGB color scheme, like that. So that is all about that exercise. When I run this, maybe I run this code so that you can be able to see how the colors are going to be looking like. So I just run this, and boom, that is it. We have already done whatever you're supposed to do. So thank you so much for listening. I click on the subscribe button to support me, and also click on the notification button so that in case I create a next video, you'll be informed. Thank you so much. Bye bye for now.